Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Interact podcast. My name is Josh Haynem. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Interact, and I am here today with Tyler Leber, who is the co-founder at Coconut. They have a very cool quiz set up that's a branching logic quiz for their applications for their business. I'll let Tyler talk more about that, but thanks for being here, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So you came on my radar because I found this quiz that you guys have set up. And it's, as far as what I can tell, just looking at it, it's like a branching logic quiz that helps you screen
Yeah.
applicants for virtual assistants. Do you want to take it from there and just kind of share like what the
Yeah.
impetus was behind doing that?
Yeah, of course. So we've been around for about 3.5 years, and so even from fairly near the beginning, we have quite a wealth of I guess resources and benefits tied to the people that work for us. And so we got onto like the VA radar pretty quickly, and we started getting a lot of applications coming in every single month for people that wanted to be paired with US based clients. And so with that, yeah, like I said, from very early on, we were getting probably 500 to 1,000 applications every month. And at the beginning, it was very, very basic form logic that we were using, or really not even much logic at all at the beginning. But then we got to a point where we said, hey, we need to actually start cutting off a few of these people that we know at the very beginning are just not qualified. And so that's where the logic and the branching logic became really important for us, because we really needed like a way to almost kind of score each applicant based on every answer to every question, and said, okay, with this combination of factors, that means you are now a potential good fit for Coconut. We might be able to find you a job with one of our clients. And then there's tons of other scenarios that will go down, like if they're not in the Philippines, for us, that's like a non-starter, right? So like that has to be an automatic disqualification. There's a few other that are like, automatic just DQs. And then others, it's like, well, that's kind of like a negative thing or that's a positive thing. And each one of those kind of combines into this composite score.
So how many branches are on that quiz? I'm always curious.
Oh man, great question. I don't even know. Let's see.
You can go
Um,
ballpark if you don't want to get the
yeah,
actual
I
number,
mean,
or
we've
you can look it
got.
up.
Yeah, I don't even know actually. Yeah, I shouldn't even guess. I have no idea. But every single question that we have on there contributes to it. And so however long the quiz is, probably I
Yeah.
think we try to keep it fairly short, right? So like maybe 6 to 10, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great. And like, that scenario that you just outlined, if you're not in the Philippines, it's not the right fit. It's
Yeah.
just funny to me, and I'm sure you did your research on this when you were looking for a solution. It's like funny how hard that is to actually just have like a no route. Like if you answer
Yeah.
this, then
Oh
like
yeah.
auto end. And
Right. Right.
that's wild. How much time do you think you were spending or someone on your team was spending sorting through those applications before you had this implemented?
Yeah, I mean it's really like the benefit of just not having to have somebody look at it at all. So before we still have dedicated team members that do this, but obviously just trying to control that volume before it even gets to their eyeballs. So yeah, beforehand we would kind of accept all applications, and then people could go through and just manually, check these little boxes, right, and take them out of our flow. But yeah, that was, probably 30 seconds to 60 seconds per application. And so it doesn't sound like a lot. And once you get going, like it does move pretty quickly, but it still adds up because you're now dealing with, today, like 1,000 to 2,000 applications per month. And so every single, second really is valuable, and there is a cost to that. And so if we can cut a lot of that off beforehand with some kind of automation, or even just giving our people like a better feel for how good of a fit this person will be, then they can know, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit more time really like going through this application very closely because they scored so well. And so it's like, yeah, there's got to be something here, so I'm going to really like watch their entire intro video, right? So we have like a 60-second intro video that every single person makes. But again, that's 60 seconds right there multiplied by 1,500. That's a lot of time. So anything that we can do to avoid somebody having to get into the nitty gritty of every application, it's helpful. And like we want to make sure everybody has a fair chance. Like we want to make sure that if you're a good fit, we look at your application. But there's a lot of people we know we just can't accept, right?
Yeah, no, I like that. And I mean, just napkin math there, you're still looking at like 1,000 to 2,000 minutes a month
Yeah,
minimum, which is like,
right.
I'm not great at math. That's like at least 15 hours a month. So it's
Yeah,
like, okay,
right.
well, there's a material cost. We do actually do the same thing in our onboarding. We have a qualifying quiz that routes you to a human or to an AI, depending on whether or not
Yeah, there you
it
go.
actually can work for us. Cause like we want to offer the best
Right.
service to everybody, and we can't be talking to folks that are not going to really be able to spend a lot. And so it's a
Yeah,
disservice to everybody. I'm sure you found that too.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
can't offer the best service to like the most qualified people if you're spending all this time, sorting
Right.
through the ones that are not qualified. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I really like this use case. I feel like I I wish I saw it more often because it's so smart. It's like an automation feature.
Yeah.
Do you have it tied to anything on the back end, or like where is the data going as far as like the filtering and the sorting?
Yeah, it's actually changing right now, but historically, I mean, for the first 3.5 years, we had these applications like again, if they scored above a certain threshold, they would go into Monday.com actually. So we kind of it was like Frankenstein version of Monday.com that we threw together. And that, filtered out into these separate groups of again, like this person was really high scoring. They're like, top talent or top potential. And so that's where our like hiring managers and the sourcing team would actually go through each and every single one of those applications. And then, of course, we've got other automations in the back end there. And so now we're actually moving to more of like a traditional ATS applicant tracking software. But same thing. We have literally every single person go through Interact before they go into any other system.
Nice. And you have it tied with a Zapier, like a Zap or something that
Yeah,
gets it in
yeah,
there.
exactly.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. That's really
yeah.
cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, we love
Um,
Zapier. I think we're to the point now we have unlimited Zaps. We still have a lot of tasks going every month, and yeah, it's crazy. We got a lot going there.
I like that. And how many people are on your team at Coconut?
So we have about 15 people.
15 people. Yeah, because I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like, you have all these automations going. You must be able to run pretty lean. Like, it's nice.
yeah, yeah. No, we can, and we kind of I don't know. Practice what we preach or eat our own dog food. So we actually have all of our people based in the Philippines. So it's
Hmm.
only us co-founders that are based in the US. Everybody else, like including CEO, she runs the day-to-day ops. Like everybody is based in the Philippines.
Whoa, that's cool. It's just the two of
Yeah.
you, right? Or is there
Yeah.
three?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's three total co-founders. One is more just the silent owner right now. But yeah, so two of us like actively in the operations.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, I have a
Yeah.
lot of questions about that. Like like
Yeah.
obviously, so first of all, how did you recognize this need? Like, were you already running previous businesses in this way where like everything was
Right.
outsourced? Is that how you got into this?
Yeah, pretty much. So my original co-founder, just right out of college, actually during college, is when we started the original first business, which was Venture Validator. So that was more of a market research company, and we would be vetting out other startup companies to see like, hey, does your target market actually want what you're building before you go spend thousands of dollars building it? And so with that business, we had a lot of like reports that we were trying to run for these people and a lot of surveys. And so we would that's when we hired our first VA to help us build the surveys and then also to analyze all of the data because we had a lot of quantitative and qualitative data to comb through. And so like we had to categorize each and every response into a bucket basically. And we didn't have ChatGPT yet, just even a few years ago. So a lot of that was very manual. A lot of that could even be automated nowadays. But yeah, that's when we hired like the first VA. We hired a few more, and then we ended up selling Venture Validator and trying to figure out, okay, what's the next thing that we're going to go into? And that's when we were kind of going through like all of these different ideas, and we recognized that hey, like a lot of our clients at Venture Validator ended up asking us like, hey, like who did this report? Or like, hey, how did you find that VA that did my report? Like this is fantastic work. And so we noticed that there was a need there of people that wanted a VA or wanted to be able to outsource, but they didn't know where to start. They didn't have a trusted source for that. And that's what we've noticed is like the VA staffing business is so trust based. Like if you just go off a cold email or a cold pitch on LinkedIn, like you don't have a great trust relationship there, or even a parasocial relationship with that person, so you don't know if they're going to find you good talent. And so the staffing industry in general, like if they know me, if they've seen my LinkedIn content for a year, 2 years, then they're going to trust me to find really good talent for them. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. We just noticed that there was a need for that, trusted source for really good talent, and that's kind of kicked us off into Coconut. And yeah, it's been great since then.
100%. I mean, I can see that in the conversations that I have all the time. Like it's a common topic that comes up. How are you automating? So you have the quiz at the front end to do like some of the
Yeah,
applicant screening, but then how are you automating or not automating whatever it is that you're doing from there to make sure you can
yeah.
say like, okay, this is somebody that Coconut vouches for? Like how are you handling that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it might be a little while yet until we can automate, the entire process or some key parts of that process, because right now we do have hiring managers. They know like, hey, these are the, 30 clients that we have like that are searching for a VA right now, and these are the different roles. And so I'm going to go through each one of these every, applications. So we can automate it based on, the experience that they have or English proficiency, for example, and so we can filter that data appropriately, and then with that like subsection of applicants, then they can go in and say, hey, this person is a good fit because I know the client's personality and I know this person's personality. I can hear their confidence on the intro video, right? Like they have a good Zoom presence, and this is an SDR role, so like they need to be able to talk to US clients over the phone or on a Zoom call. So there's all of these little nuanced aspects of each and every role, because again, it depends on the culture of the company and of the founder or of the COO, whoever it is that's coming in for a VA. And so the hiring managers need to come in like with that context and then screen those applications with that in mind.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be personalized for each role.
Yeah,
It's like legitimate hiring that you're doing.
yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah,
hearing.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah,
have you seen any trends or changes in terms of, how things have gone? We had like this crazy run up during the pandemic and then some,
yeah.
wishy-washy stuff after that. Like, how has that affected people's demand for outsourcing or the ability to do it? Have you seen any changes in the market in the last 3.5 years?
Yeah, I think the only big change I've noticed, like I'd say overall the demand that we're getting, it's still about the same. Like people are asking kind of for the same types of roles. They're asking for the same a lot of the same criteria is still coming in. Um Sorry, my screen just went black.
Oh,
Are you
you're
still
good.
there?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. My
you're all
screen just
good.
went black. No idea what happened there.
No
um
worries.
all right, so yeah, what was I going with that? So yeah, so a lot of the people that are coming in are still asking for about the same types of roles. But the only difference that I have noticed is that there are more teams that are strictly in office. And so the fact that they're trying this outsourcing thing, I guess there's a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more hesitancy, I'd say, like because they have more of the option of like, hey, we have 10 people that are working in office. I could hire this US based, executive assistant, and like they could actually go run errands for me, for example, like actually do physical stuff or talk to this, supplier and go meet with them in person. Or I could hire this offshore, executive assistant, and the talent, could be the exact same, but then there's a big cost savings, right? So that's what I have noticed is more clients will come in with that like frame of mind of that, I guess, really that comparison, right? Like they're coming in with the comparison of what would it look like to hire this person in person versus, what you're offering me, which is more strictly remote. Like, they're halfway across the world, right? Or all the way across the world. And so we didn't get that as much like in the very early days because everybody was working remote. So that's really the only big change I've noticed.
I could see that. Yeah, because during the height of the pandemic, it was like everybody's going to be remote forever. And obviously that
Yeah,
played out. It hasn't played out. It's kind of a mixed
yeah,
bag now, but it makes
yeah,
sense. I mean, what you're saying, like comparison shopping, essentially, like
right.
comparison hiring or whatever you want to call it, like who are you going to hire and why? What is
Yeah.
the rough price differential? Do you guys have data on that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's about half the cost of a US hire. So I could be going for executive assistant in the US, and if I chose to go through Coconut, for example, it'd be about half the cost. And like even, we have a slight premium just because we're doing a lot of the legwork for you to find the people and run everything on the back end. So you could even get people for more of like an arbitrage there, right? You can even get people where it's 30% the cost of a US hire if you hire directly. But of course, now you're having to do all of the work of that, all of the, sourcing, vetting, and making sure that that person actually sticks. And then also having to replace that person if things don't work out, right? And then also running the international payroll, trying to figure out benefits, trying to navigate all of that, which is complicated.
Yeah, I could imagine. I could imagine.
Yeah.
So, let's run through that scenario because that is actually kind of fascinating to me. Like somebody's
Yeah.
comparing the two. So, if I was to come in and ask you, how do you go through this process of like knowing the vetting part of it? Like, how do you know, like, that you can vouch for this person? They're going to hit the ground running, be able to
Yeah.
deliver at the same level as, X person down the street, where it's like, well, there's some social accountability. They know people that
Yeah.
I know. There's going to be some skin in the game for them if this doesn't go well.
Right.
Whereas someone overseas, I don't know, like there's no real accountability for them. Like they don't really lose that much other than the job if it doesn't
Yeah.
work out. So, what's your how do you do that? And then also, how do you communicate that to the client? Because I would imagine those are kind of two separate buckets that you have to figure out.
It is. Yeah, no, it really is. It is very two very separate buckets because on the talent side for the VAs and the people that we're finding in the Philippines, like we really have to make it an exclusive, exciting opportunity here at Coconut and to make that like something that you really don't want to lose. And then obviously there's like a little bit of like network effects. Like now we're getting referrals from, friends and family. Like, yeah, we've had some jokes like there's been, families that have like it started as one member of the family, and then the sister joined, and then the brother-in-law joined, and then the cousin joined. And so like there's a little bit of that accountability as well. Of like if you ghost coconut, like we know how to get to you, right? Or like we know like who you are, and like you're not going to be able to come back in ever. And so like I think that's a really big key thing on the talent side. Like we have so many benefits and like above average pay, that is not typical of other agencies who are really like trying to lowball their talent and trying to get the absolute cheapest talent to get the biggest profit margin. Like we know that we're not getting as big of a margin as the other agencies, but we know we're getting incredibly dependable talent who will treasure this job and who will not want to give it up. And they know that if they really do screw up, or if they're just not communicating with us, or they're not transparent with us, like we won't find them a job ever again. And like that's a thing, that's a big thing to lose, right? Because we find them really great clients here in the US, or even some international clients as well. So yeah, it's taken a while because you really have to do a lot of reputation building to actually make that happen and make that something that is actually worth something, right? And we're not just like a faceless, nameless agency to them. Like we're Coconut, right? And like you want to work for Coconut. So that's kind of the talent side, and then the client side. I mean, there's a lot of like checks and balances we can do to put the client at ease. One of them is like basic personality tests. So we get a lot of founders that come in that are more like big idea or visionary type founders. And the one common question I ask is like, how many emails do you have in your inbox? And most of the big idea founders, it's like 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, right? Like just absolutely wild. And then we're getting the people that are kind of the opposite, more like operator execution type talent. And so they are inbox zero, like they have one unread email from just 5 minutes ago, And so we're trying to that's one of the first ways that we can really differentiate the talent and make sure that it's paired up well with the client. They're actually complementary. And then another thing that we do that's like very practical or the tactical how to is hiring tasks. So somebody will come in and say that they have, 8 years of experience as an executive assistant. They've worked for these CEOs. We have a new client coming in and we know exactly what they're going to be doing. So we'll give them a few hiring tasks even before we send them over to the client to make sure that they can actually do the work that and they can do it well. And then also we have like a trial period. So a client can actually work with a VA for a full week of work before committing to anything long term. And so again, it's like a great testing period where you can just give them a little bit here, a little bit there to kind of test their skill set, make sure that what they're saying on their resume, in their interviews, actually lines up with real world expertise, real world like projects completed.
Nice. Yeah, the that first part that you said jumped out at me, like where you have a network within the community. Sounds like I was listening to Stripe, the founders of Stripe on a podcast recently,
Yeah,
and they were saying like one of the big values for them now is that this trusted network. They basically have seen every credit card get tried, and so they have this
yeah,
network that says, well, this credit card's good, this one's not, because we've
yeah,
seen it before. Kind of sounds like
right.
that's what's starting to happen on your end. It's like, well, we've worked with this person before. We
Yeah,
that's how we know we can trust them rather than
yeah.
starting from scratch.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I mean, even to that point, like we've had clients that for whatever reason, they're moving in a different direction. They're even sometimes their business is going under. They're struggling just as a business in general. And so we'll have really great talent. Like the client had nothing but good things to say about, Aubrey, whoever this person is. And then we know that Aubrey is good, vetted, like high quality talent. The client raved about her, like, yeah, let's go find her a job. And sometimes we'll even do like kind of cherry picking, like, hey, we'll reach out to our network, people in our network, like, hey, I can personally vouch for like Aubrey, like I've worked with her, I've trained her on XYZ, she was crushing it here, like, do you want her? Like this is a very exclusive, like kind of golden egg opportunity. And that's always really fun to do because then it's a very custom like matchmaking, right? Like I know this person is going to be fantastic. Like I know them personally, and then pairing them up with somebody on the US client base side, that's really fun to do.
Yeah, that's nice. Then it's going to
Yeah.
be a win from the beginning, and
Yeah.
then
It's like guaranteed to be a win. Yeah.
right. And then you mentioned the trial period for the ones. I would imagine that's like when you're trying
Yeah.
out a new matching for the first time. Like you want to make sure
Exactly.
it works before you get somebody to commit to anything longer
Yeah.
term. I'm curious to get your insight on this. What areas of business tend to have the most success with hiring VAs remotely?
Yeah, I mean, our big focus has really been around executive assistants. And so, like, pairing up again, like those more operator type personalities with the big idea visionary type personalities. We've seen a lot of success with that. Like, we probably get most of our rave reviews from people like that. There's also been, the classics, like customer service is another big one. Social media managers, that's another really big one. We'll have people that are very conscientious. They're very consistent. They're on top of things. They can keep a schedule. They can keep a content calendar, and they're often paired up with founders or CMOs that have so many other things going on that they can rely on this person to like make sure that a post goes out every single day or three posts go out every single day on these channels, and then they can repurpose that content as well. So those are the three things that come to my mind. Like basic customer service is great. Social media managers is like a step up of like how much that really takes off these executives like plate. And then executive assistant, like if we can find a really great executive assistant for a founder or executive that feels like they're drowning or they've just got too much going on, that's like a really satisfying thing to watch.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Switching gears a little bit on the growth side, you
Yeah,
guys have grown pretty nicely. Um,
yeah,
what have you found to work really well? What are things that haven't worked that you've tried? Because that's always really interesting to learn
yeah.
from. Yeah, what are the wins and losses?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to your point, I think we've probably learned more from our failures, but what's worked really well has been the content, like LinkedIn content, posting almost every day for the past 2, 3 years on like LinkedIn is fantastic. Like that's been a huge part of our growth. And then also referrals. So, kind of like the talent side, right? Like if a US based client can say that they hired an amazing executive assistant or there's all sorts of like kind of use cases that are more like public facing. So if you're having an interview with somebody or just chatting with somebody, and you say like, oh, like how did you do that? Or how can you stay on top of your podcast? How can you stay on top of your email? Or, for example, it's like, oh, well, I've got this great executive assistant. I hired them through Coconut, right? Then that's like a great testimonial for us that's just kind of built into how they operate. And even for us, like we run a founder community called Highline, and that's like a very exclusive founder community. And we've thrown a few events, and a lot of people will ask us like how did you, you're running Coconut, like how did you also throw this like big intricate event? And I can say like, oh, well, it was my Coconut, executive assistant. Like I did the public facing stuff, you know, I did the, I don't know, talking head moments, and like I showed up to the event, but my executive assistant booked the ticket and she found the venue, and she was the one that sent you that follow-up email, and she called to confirm your attendance. Like all of these little things that just kind of show, the proof, right? That it's actually working and that I can actually delegate all of this stuff to somebody else. So yeah. Anyway, that's a great example, I guess.
Yeah, just like showing it in real life. Like this is what it
Yeah.
actually does for us, and
Right.
that's powerful. And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah,
LinkedIn
exactly.
stuff is like founder led stuff. So it's you
Yeah.
guys posting on there. Is that the gist of it?
Yes, yeah. So it's mainly the founders posting on LinkedIn, and then we've got a few like automations in the background. Like Sales Navigator is great. That helps us do quite a bit of outreach, and then yeah, there's a few tools that we've tried out. But really, it's like the inbound stuff, right? Like the trust-based thing, the content that's really the most beneficial. Um, yeah, and then I'm trying to think. The other things that we've tried that have not worked as well have been like paid ads. That's like a very competitive space with like the virtual assistant industry. If you type in even Coconut VA, like six competitors will show up like in the sponsored, in the ad section in the ad results, and it's a very expensive keyword. And we've tried going after it, but yeah, it's difficult to do, and it does take a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of budget to be successful at that. And we've just never wanted to spend that time because we have the content marketing, which is basically free. Um, so yeah, the ROI has been a lot better on word of mouth, obviously, and then the LinkedIn content.
Yep. Yeah. I hear
Yeah,
that content and word of mouth has always been bread and butter for us, and everything else is
yeah,
very expensive. It's very
yes,
expensive.
exactly, yes.
Um, Last one before we kind of wrap up here, but I'm always curious, like, are you guys implementing AI into your workflows? Is there ways that it's saving you money or helping you with additional automations or even things that you're thinking about that are just like cool ideas?
Yeah, oh, totally. And yeah, it's constantly evolving, right? With all of the tools that are coming out. I mean, one thing that we're trying to do right now, directly with AI, is we have all of our virtual assistants kind of submitting like rough end of day reports of like what they accomplished every single day for their client. And so being able to like gather that data is one piece, but then being able to like analyze that data and see, okay, all of our executive assistants are doing XYZ tasks every single day. They're being asked to do these unique tasks. We can kind of see the trends over time, right? And so AI being able to help us like analyze that, take that data apart is really helpful. Um, and then the only other thing that I can think of right now is um, like parsing resumes is really helpful. Like we can give, ChatGPT or whatever tool, 100 resumes, and it can parse that data for us and pull out like the exact thing that we're looking for. Like, hey, look through these 100 resumes and find somebody who would be good at XYZ, right? And it will go out and find like the exact person that fits that exact criteria, which is really, really beneficial.
That's cool. Yeah, you can do like
Yeah.
a auto like sort through a bunch of
Yeah.
resumes and be like, all right, this is the best fit for this
Yeah.
request. That's cool. I
Yeah,
like that one.
exactly.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
nice.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for chatting with me. This is great. I feel
Yeah.
like I learned a bunch and I'm sure everybody listening did as well. So much apprecited. And we'll have to do a follow up at some point.
Yeah, I would love that. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Tyler.